5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
How about we do it again?
6, 7, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think I farted.
Okay, let's try one more
I
time.
definitely didn't.
Ready?
I can move you. Making review. Making review.
Say 6,
6,
5,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the 278th episode of the Rank and Review podcast. This is the voice of your host and random Canadian, Larry Parsons, and today we are welcoming the return of the Rank and Review Film Club. This is the second year that we've been doing this. There will be 6 episodes over the course of the 25-episode season that will be involving the film club, and the theme for this year is going to just be straight horror. Last year we bounced around a bit. This year we're going to stick to the horror genre. And the first entry of the film club has to do with classic horror, which seemed like a very good starting point. We're going to talk about movies like Carnival of Souls, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, King Kong, House on Haunted Hill, Bride of Frankenstein, and The Day the Earth Stood Still. The roster has changed slightly, and we do have 6 full members now, so we don't need to bully a guest star for each episode like we did for the previous season. Lee Beckmann, Jason Dubray, Scott Lehman, Raylee Perkins, Fehr, and Mr. Matthew Risling are the members of the film club. So that's what you have to look forward to with your typical warning of swears and spoilers in the Rank and Review podcast. Yes, Mr. Lee Beckmann is going to be doing the review of Day the Earth Stood Still with me. Matthew Risling will be doing a review of Carnival of Souls with me. Fehr will be reviewing Invasion of the Body Snatchers with me. Raylee Perkins will be reviewing the original King Kong with me. Jason Dubray will be reviewing Bride of Frankenstein with me. And Scott and I shall be reviewing A House on Haunted Hill. And at the end of all of this madness, I will figure out my own rank of these 6 movies and inform you of them. Thank you so much for listening to Rank and Review. Please continue to do so. Please tell your friend about the podcast. And definitely consider checking out the Shelf Shedding Movie Show hosted by Mr. Jason Dubray. Now, before we get into the reviews proper, I thought maybe we should discuss with some of the members what they felt the value of classic horror cinema was, or what the value of revisiting them was. The film club's coming back for another season. We're going to do 6 episodes, 6 out of the 25 are going to be the film club. But unlike last year, and instead of hopping genre, I'm mostly sticking to horror genre. This episode we're dealing with classic cinema. And I think I made a controversial statement in the Spielberg episode that I feel movies are largely accessible to any kind of halfway cinephile, starting somewhere around 1960. Which is dismissive of a lot of great 50s and 40s movies. But what I'm talking about is I feel like 60s is where we kind of went from the stumbling kind of formative phase of cinema into the modern era of cinema. And yes, there's still a lot of great things to see before that year, but there's usually a little bit of a barrier through age that you have to climb over. Movies were made differently, actors acted differently, stories were told differently. There was just an archness to the presentation that you have to accept. Now, I know I don't have to ask you, you're deep into the movies, but do you see value in like going back and seeing the formative horror movies? Or do you think at some point we just need to let the past go?
Oh, I definitely see value. Even just about the film we're talking about, I learned about, a new musical instrument and why this particular film is now considered a classic. You do have to sort of switch, especially for me, I think, the social norms and contracts of the 1950s, you're going to have to swallow. And I even sort of chuckled. But there's definite value because history does repeat itself and it goes in circles. And ultimately, the message of this particular film still resonates hard today.
Yeah. Why do we study history? And a lot of people don't and ignore history. It's the patterns. And how do we get to the point now where, and I know this will be, a few months after this is current news, but the last few days, Netflix looks like they're going to buy Warner Brothers. How have we got into this point in cinema? And going back to, the history of cinema, whether it's filmmakers and filmmaking techniques and how things got moved from the stage to pretty static cinematography into like having ceilings, having full sets, into creating more psychologically complex characters and evolving the time thing. We talk about 70s movies being kind of slow moving and now quicker cuts in the 90s to where we are now, to that kind of, very fast cut, like everything had to be MTV hyperkinetic to where we are now. Possible. But we have to go back to that. And if we're taking a look at like a horror, because I think we're focusing a lot on horror this season with the club, how have we got into this point where we are, where I think we're like last few years, some of the best horror movies in recent memory have come out, but how has that genre evolved from 70 years ago, 100 years ago in some cases?
And a lot of modern filmmakers live in the past. Eggers is very much like that.
Yes.
Ty West is very much like that. If you're not horror literate or you don't know where this came from, well, too bad. Do you think you would be watching a movie from 1933 unless Larry bullied you into it?
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to watching it. I probably wouldn't have sought it out. I think... But I've watched movies from 1930s before for fun and for giggles, I wouldn't be opposed to doing it.
I sort of controversially said that 1960s is sort of the dividing line for kind of like the era of modern cinema, where if you're into cinema, you can watch a movie from the 60s and it'll be reflective of its time, but you can still watch it without having to like get over this barrel. I think the older you get into the 50s, 40s, and 30s, there's this... just the way the movies are presented and delivered, you have to kind of go with the movie or accept what it is, the sort of arch over the top delivery of all the cast and like the, less flashy camera work.
Yeah, and you're going to excuse the effects and you're going to excuse the acting and things in a way that you wouldn't if it was like a more recent movie, right?
Yeah, you have to meet the movie a little bit more halfway than a lot of the more modern movies.
When I was watching it, I kept trying to think of, imagine being in the audience seeing this movie. That was how I approached it, was, imagine if this was the first time you had seen something like this and you were sitting in that movie theater and everyone else's reactions. That was kind of how I looked at it.
And if it's one that you're familiar with, it's a favorite of yours, and you go back to revisit again, you're ready for it anyways. And as soon as those opening credits with the little airplane going around the old Universal logo or something, you just start smiling. You know what you're in for, and I get excited anyways. Yeah. And I'm still checking out movies that maybe have passed me by, older ones, and you got to know what you're getting into. It's going to be of another time, and the acting, like you said, is going to be delivered differently. And but if you want to study film and kind of learn about it more, then you have to. Yeah,
there's also, and I hate to sound like the middle-aged man that I am, but a lot of people don't like seeing an honest portrayal of how women were portrayed in the 50s and the 60s, right? They're secondary, third or fourth, back of the room characters, and they don't really do much but look pretty and support their husbands. And that's right. And some people get really put off by that, but I see it as more of a fascinating reflection of the time it came out in. When this movie came out, this was totally okay for you to go pay money and see it, and nobody questioned it. That's where we were culturally.
And you'd see a lot of, if she's getting hysterical, you just got to slap her a couple of times.
Yeah.
And that was totally just how you dealt with with a woman in these films, right? I don't know. It's kind of comical to look back on because they are portrayed differently, and I don't know. I kind of chuckle a bit because it's.
Like, is there any medical relevance to slapping somebody out of hysterics, or is that just something that we were taught by movies? If someone's losing their shit, you just slap a bitch.
You slap them a couple times, and then they say, "Thank you,
thank you."
I lost control there. I needed that. Thank you.
Oh, phew.
We interrupt this program to give you a bulletin just received from one of our naval units at sea. A large object traveling at supersonic speed is headed over the North Atlantic toward the east coast of the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Drew Pearson. We bring you this special radio television broadcast in order to give you the very latest information on an amazing phenomenon, the arrival of a space ship in Washington. The Army has taken every precaution to meet any emergency which may develop. Just a minute, ladies and gentlemen, I think something is happening.
In 1951, The Day the Earth Stood Still came out. This is an interesting selection because you look at it and you say, Larry, this is a science fiction movie. It's not really a horror movie. Not only is it a science fiction movie, but it's a strangely straight-faced one. That's why I included it in the group, because I think the reaction to the movie, especially at the time it came out, was that, oh man, this is kind of frightening. I don't know that it's the first movie, but it's the first really popular, great movie that took a look not just at what aliens from space might be, but what our global reaction to first contact might be. And there has been some fantastic sci-fi movies on this subject. I think of Contact, I think of Arrival, just like Ground Zero, an alien shows up, and how that would completely upend our reality, our understanding of the universe, our understanding of our spirituality, our understanding of, everything is thrown into question. And the other thing that made it stand out is that instead of them just coming down to conquer or kidnap, Klaatu, what's the name of the main alien here? Sorry.
Klaatu.
I was right. Klaatu.
Yes, it was Klaatu, and that thing, the other thing was Gort.
Yeah. For some reason I doubted myself, and I was wrong to doubt myself.
But we'll get to that famous line, but yep.
But Klaatu is actually bringing a message of hope and fellowship, or trying to, and humanity keeps messing it up. And the idea, I think, again, probably new, fresh in a lot of young minds at the time, would be how far beyond our scientific ability such a species would be. That they could conquer space and fly here and say hello already tells us everything we need to know about how further advanced they are. And the fact that the robot can just make the guns disappear. And the fact that the alien, at least initially, appears kind of invincible. Scary. But then instead of conquering, which you could presume he would easily be able to do, no. Not only is it a message of peace, but the message of peace that they try to maintain is actually authored and authoritated by AI. Again, these are very progressive steps in the world of science fiction. I also have to mention, of course, the director, Robert Wise, who is amazing. He was responsible for classics, West Side Story, Sound of Music, and as far as I'm concerned, The Haunting, absolute classics. And he remained relevant for decades and decades after this. I'm not sure if this is the movie that made Robert Wise, but that name, if you're a historian of film, is somebody to really take a good look at. Does it age well? Is it easily accessible to the modern audience? I think that's where things get tough with this movie, because it does have that rigid sort of performance quality to it. And the special effects, which, by the way, were melting people's eyes in 1951, kind of don't do much in 2025 or 2026, right? It's been a while. You have to respect the origins of this movie and the ambition of this movie, and the fact that it still has a limited life this many years later. I think it's worth it. And it's more than just science fiction. It's big and it's broad, it's ambitious, and I think, particularly in 1951, kind of frightening. So I give it a thumbs up, but I have to sort of filter it through the eyes of history. What did Beckmann think of The Day the Earth Stood Still?
Well, Beckmann ultimately liked it, but he was fighting it at some points.
Yeah.
I do want to sort of, kind of scan back to Robert Wise, because I do also want to give him a shout out. He also did the Andromeda Strain.
Yep.
Audrey Rose, of course, Star Trek The Motion Picture, and a little ditty called Run Silent, Run Deep. And if you watch Crimson Tide, you kind of go, interesting. I think West Side Story and Sound of Music are probably the ones, along with The Haunting, along with the Sound Pebbles, which I haven't seen, seem to be the ones that he'll be remembered by. But the dude was prolific. Like, he worked a lot. And if you look at, considering how many films that still hold resonance today, good on Robert Wise. Ultimately, I liked it. I got some giggles out of it. I think, you got to go back once again, as you say, in time. World War II had just ended in 1946, including the dropping of the nuclear bomb. So we had the Cold War paranoia, and in comes this Saturday matinee sci-fi schlock film telling us, hey, people, I think we need to calm down, because if we keep on this sort of saber rattling, we will destroy each other. I don't think Klaatu is sending a message of hope, though. That's the one thing I'm going to call, I don't know of hope, because it's kind of, you need to stop, or we've been watching you, are going to do something about it. So
he didn't arrive as a conqueror, I guess is what I was saying. He was more of an emissary than a conqueror, right?
Yeah. Oh, no. He's telling us, he's being the parent, honestly. And it's sort of like the whole tough love of, you need to stop being so xenophobic as one, because there is that message right there of, you need to stop hating the other. Not everyone is out to try and get you.
You're all the human race. You should be on the side of the human race.
Yes.
Which, yes.
Yes. And I think for that message to come so soon after World War II and the dropping of Fat Man and Little Boy, I think is probably why it's considered, one of the reasons why it's considered a classic. And I appreciated that. I did struggle, and I have to consider the social norms and contract of, like, a total stranger very easily integrates this family and is, like, hanging out with this boy, and how the mother and, like, the boyfriend, like, kind of, they eventually get to it, but they kind of go, why is this tall man befriending my son so easily and taking him out to the movies and everything?
Yeah.
I just kept on going ding, 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 but that's probably, of the time, and I just had to do my whole suspension of disbelief there.
Well, I think two things were happening there. The boy was sort of introducing the alien to Earth culture, and I felt like the alien thought the boy was reachable. His parents maybe weren't. He needed to appeal to the younger generation and give them a picture of what could be instead of a world dedicated to war and violence. Yeah. It's incredibly simplistic. And you get the feeling in the film that he doesn't give a shit about what the mom says, mainly because she's a woman. Like, somehow that sexism is still intergalactic, baked into the 50s, right? Yeah. Know your place and stay there, damn it. And that is unfortunate, but I think it just comes with it being a movie made in 1951. Yeah.
It does its best to actually get away from the conventions of this film, because she's not quite a screen queen as well. I mean, she does do the whole, when Gort gets to her and picks her up and drags her back into the machine a little bit. But the fact that she actually goes to confront Gort and say that infamous line, as well as, like, there's no romantic tension between her and the alien. He's supposed to be he's not this big, handsome lead. He's a tall, lanky looking guy. And I appreciated that. We had this sort of juxtaposition of, like, the boyfriend and our female lead, and how he felt kind of threatened. I like that angle, and I'm sure that was kind of new to audience members of that time as well.
Yeah.
So that was one element. I thought that's probably why it probably opened a lot of doors or a lot of eyes.
I think I could say, too, it maybe was a mistake to make Klaatu so human. It would have been nice that instead of him just being tall and skinny, but human, that he maybe did have some alien affectation to him, even if it was like the Star Trek sort of slant. Still humanoid, but there's something off about him. His eyes were a little too big, or his something, right? To make him more alien. At the time, there was a lot of impact as far as the special effects of the spaceship opening. Apparently, in order to do that effect, they would have to like seal and repaint the entire ship, because when the door dropped down, it would actually tear seams through the paint and the gauze, and they'd have to rebuild for each one of those things. But at the time, the special effect was quite impressive.
Yes.
And then there's Gort, this robot thing. This was a 7-foot tall actor who was apparently quite miserable inside this terrible suit, but
I bet he was.
Became kind of a big calling card for the movie. I think like Invaders from Mars and some of the other ones, the sort of Robbie the Robot he kind of kicked down the door that might have even led us to the droids in Star Wars. This sort of fascination, not just with aliens, but alien technology. And again, that was an important toehold for the genre that, again, I haven't seen every science fiction movie made before this one, but if it didn't create it, it definitely popularized it.
Yep. How did you take the whole message that Klaatu does? Because they meet up with that professor and he solves that mathematical riddle for him and says, I'm going to leave a message for the world. And so he shuts off all power for half an hour. Yeah. And that was another thing where he went, oh, shit, because people are dying in a hospital. It was the whole Snake Plissken argument. And this is where I went, is Klaatu giving a message of hope? Or is he just saying that I'm the biggest gorilla in the jungle here?
Yeah, and I think that was an overt threat. We can take electricity from you. Like, whole hog. The remake quadruples down on that. That's the other interesting thing, too. Because this is a classic work of science fiction, and it has a lot of bold ideas, and it's about first contact, it was remade. And I'm going to argue pretty unsuccessfully. And you would think that with this much in the movie, that it could only really be improved by modernizing it and taking away sort of the, quote, problematic production and the problematic social end of the movie. But I don't know that they accomplished anything with the remake. I would argue more people are still talking about the 51 version than the remake.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. It was a mistake to remake that. But, I mean, I guess Keanu Reeves needed to eat. What was going on? I think, the second Iraq war might have been on, which was it was a fake war in a lot of ways. So maybe that's why they decided to remake it. But we're not here to talk about Keanu's friction.
No, I just think it's interesting, like, what gets remade and what doesn't, and which remakes seem worthy and which don't. I feel that there.
Yeah.
Look, you can watch The Day the Earth Stood Still for free on YouTube, or if you picked up the DVD edition of the remake, which I did, it also included the original film, which I thought showed mad respect. So it doesn't cost you anything to check this out, and it's 90 minutes out of your life. I do think it's worth a watch, and I do think it's interesting, but it's a hard thing to give a full-throated recommendation to, because I do think a lot of people will find it either troubling or kind of slow.
Yep. Before we go, I do want to give two special shout-outs as well. Bernard Herrmann did the score, and this is another reason why it's a classic. He used this instrument called a theremin, and the theremin it's an electronic instrument that you don't actually touch. It's got these like two, what would you call it? Antennas next to this box, and you manipulate the electronic field. Portishead on her album Dummy used it, but it never really been used in a film score before, and then like other composers started using it. So I think that's one of the reasons why like all the cine nerds go classic. But every time you hear that's that device.
I can see over your shoulder a poster for Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn.
Yes.
Sam Raimi is clearly a fan of The Day the Earth Stood Still, hence Klaatu Virato Nikto being taken completely whole hog from this movie. It doesn't feel like a wink when you heard it, but I confess when I first heard that line, I'd never seen The Day the Earth Stood Still, but it's a nice little interesting Easter egg, and whether or not everybody follows the history of Hollywood, Sam Raimi sure does, and respect.
Big fan. When I laugh so much about it, because there's been a lot of debate about what that actually means. The screenwriter, God, I forget his name right now, but he just made it up on the fly. Like he was passing his street where I think Klaatu Verata Nikto. I think Verata or Nikto was just a street name, and he just said it sounded cool. But there are actually alien linguistics. That's a job that people have done. And I would make fun of these people, but since I'm kind of one of them, I can't. But there is so much debate onto what it says. Some people means is stop the barbarism, I am death, bind, or die. Or... God, there's just many things.
But the truth is, there is no correct answer. It means whatever you want it to mean.
Well, and the fact that Edward North, the guy who wrote it, just said, "Look, man, I just came up with it on the fly." But just goes to show you how it spiraled into this very long conversation about it.
It also goes to show you, like, the toxicity of fandom will never die and has always been here. If the writer says it's word salad, take him at his word. Don't go, no, it isn't. Good God.
I know. I'm just laughing that, like, people have spent their lives, possible careers, like, time and energy trying to decode this. It is funny to me. Yeah. It is funny. But anyways, but that's the beauty of pop culture.
There's gold to mine in this movie, but you have to sift through some dirt, right?
Yes. Yeah.
From the bottom of the river they come. They reach for her. They demand that she dance with them at the Carnival of Souls. She is a girl driven mad by the relentless forces of the beyond. He will not relent as he comes for her again and again. She whirls between the real and the unreal, trying to cling to life.
I like being with you, really I do. I don't want to be alone tonight. I want to be near you.
Honey, you don't want to go in there all by yourself, do you?
But she must watch herself in death. She must dance at the Carnival of Souls held just for her. For they have come for her for the last time, claiming her as one of their own.
Okay, so just a couple of fun facts for you about Carnival of Souls before we get started. Herc Harvey, the guy who directed it, he did like infotainment, educational type of films for like school districts, like The Dangers of Menstruation or whatever.
were any of them The Dangers of Drag Racing?
Possibly. I don't know which ones he did or didn't do, but this is the only film he ever made, like actual movie that he ever made. And I find that kind of interesting and a weirdly kind of romantic thing that, like, he made the movie, it bombed, nobody really talked about it, but for some reason, as the years went by and it played on TV and it played in, theaters because it was cheap to get them replayed at drive-ins or retro houses, the movie started to gain a reputation. And in the 80s, big names like George Romero and David Lynch started talking about Carnival of Souls as being very influential to them. And
well, I mean, a big one that we would have to talk about is Stanley Kubrick, who basically stole this ending for his rewrite of The Shining. And by stole, I mean like an obvious homage.
Right. And I don't know if I would add his name to the people who actually said that out loud, but having seen Carnival of Souls and seeing The Shining, it's sort of, it seems pretty there. Candice Hilligoss, I believe is the name of the actress, the lead actress. She was fired by her agent after he saw the movie.
Although I looked her up, she didn't do anything super memorable, but she was a working actor for the rest of her life, so this is not one of those career killer moves.
No, but nobody knew that it was going to be a movie that was still being talked about in 2025, and it's kind of strange that it's still being talked about in 2025.
Yeah.
Herc Harvey was driving home from work one day, and he saw this abandoned pier and amusement park that apparently had been built by like some Mormon church to be like a
good place for people to get together and socialize and not be corrupted by, the 60s. But I guess God wasn't into it because the thing burnt down, and then they rebuilt it, and then it partially burnt down again, and then the water receded, so it was no longer standing on the water. It was standing on a bunch of like rotting, stinky, salty sand, and nobody wanted to go there. But Harvey drove by it, and he thought that would be an amazing place to shoot a horror movie. And he hired a writer, and all he really had is, I want this ending where there's a bunch of dead people dancing on this dock or this place that I have found. And he wanted to prove to his friends that he could make an actual horror movie. So we get this story. Candice Hilligoss and her friends are doing drag racing, which was a very 60s thing to do with your time, apparently. And things go wrong. The car goes off of a bridge into the water, and seemingly everyone but her is dead. If you've ever watched a horror movie before in your life, you probably know where this is going. But I do think that there's a lot of charm to be found in this obviously low-budget movie. Did you find anything to cling to in this movie, or was it just an ordeal for you?
No, I certainly did. When I was watching it, I really felt like I was watching an episode of The Twilight Zone, because it had that exact vibe to it. I was also trying to put myself in the mindset of somebody who hasn't seen, for instance, The Sixth Sense or something like that, because I could imagine it before this becomes a trope that they've been dead the whole time. It wasn't brand new, because actually the movie is kind of a soft adaptation of an Ambrose Bierce short story, the incident at Owl Creek, I think it was called, where
on Owl Creek Bridge, something like that.
He'd been dead the whole time. So I don't know if it would have shocked me that she'd been dead the whole time, but watching it, I really felt like I was witnessing a historical document. Like, again, the kind of thing that sort of people with better tools in the future would not be able to remake, although I think it may have been remade.
I think Robert Englund did one in the early 90s, but apparently it's terrible.
It seems, one of my notes is there's 22 minutes worth of story in 117 minutes, which is another reason why I thought it would have been a good Twilight Zone episode. Like, if it had just gotten in and gotten out. There were interesting supporting characters. There was the neighbor he was like just gross. Like, he was like a gross guy that kept coming on to our protagonist. But I wasn't sure what the film thought of him. Like, did the film think of him as a love interest, or did it think of him as a threat? Because he certainly has, some no means no vibes coming off of him.
Well, the lack of no means no. It's sort of the era of the 60s where you just have to keep asking until you get the answer you want. There's no social sort of ramifications for not backing off when it's told no, which is, yes, uncomfortable. And also the fact that the character is openly at least agnostic, if not atheist, was uncommon for the time. Like, she admits when she gets hired by the church to play the organ that she just wants to play the organ. It's not about anything spiritual for her. It's a means to make some cash. That was kind of a weird thing. It's also very appropriate that you say The Twilight Zone, because the writer cites a big influence as being the Hitchhiker episode of The Twilight Zone, where this woman's driving her car and the same hitchhiker keeps on trying to catch a ride, and obviously it's death, right?
Yeah. Well, and you get that with, like, throughout the show, she'll be looking into a reflection or something, and there'll be a creepy guy looking at her, and then she goes under hypnosis at some point when she goes to see a psychiatrist, and she's hypnotized into seeing this guy. He doesn't... when I was watching it, I didn't know that I thought he was death. I thought he seemed more demonic to me. He seemed really, really malicious, like not welcoming a traveler home, but like, I'm gonna get you.
And that's Herc Harvey. He's also the director who plays the part of the stalking man. I also really enjoy like the strange flourishes where she seems to be winking in and out of reality. Like, she's in the store and people see her, but then she's suddenly in the store and she can't hear anyone, and clearly nobody can see her, and like she just has to like deal with it. And
that created something of a mystery for me, because you would think, like, if she's dead, nobody can see her, and that's the thing, and everybody's pretending like she's not there. But because it blinks in and out, there's a question that I had is, like, what is her status in this world?
Yeah. I don't think we're seeing the afterlife. I think these are real people interacting with her. I just don't think that they know she's a ghost. And for whatever reason that we don't understand, sometimes they can see her and sometimes they can't. Or the fact that she doesn't fully understand her own behavior sometimes. When she goes down to the organ and starts playing this real creepy, dirge, very not religious sounding thing. And where is that coming from? Was that coming from her? Was that some deep psychological like, what was that?
Yeah, I didn't really have a theory about it at the time. At this point, I think it was probably like death, like the concept of death playing through her. Like maybe she's like something like a conduit to the afterlife, and it was like using her body to make deathy music,
right? Which
was upsetting enough that the minister fired her on the spot.
Yeah. And she's acting strange, like she is frustrated and spooked by everything that's happening to her, but from the outside looking in, she just seems like a crazy person. And as it turns out, she is a crazy dead person. I don't know, this movie does have a quality to me. Like, I saw it, the first time I saw it, which was years and years ago, I remember thinking, well, it's okay. I think it might be a little bit overhyped to be one of like the best horror movies of the 60s or whatever. But I kept thinking about it. Images kept on coming back to my head from it, and like just the vibe of it, and yeah, the climactic thing, which was the main reason the director wanted to get to the movie, was with her walking through that empty pier and it's suddenly filling with these. They kind of look like the Revenant from Night of the Living Dead, but they're all dancing and spinning around her.
In a very The Shining kind of way, because they're having an old-timey ball at this abandoned, this once luxurious structure.
And welcoming her to the group in some way.
Yeah.
And, I mean...
There were little things, which again, like these days doesn't seem like a big deal, but just like little surreal things, like the title cards were all askew when they were giving the credits. Like, in some ways, I can't say I think that's revolutionary, but like every bit of the film is like that. There's always something just a little bit off, so it does create an atmosphere. And I think it was like a lot of work went into it. It felt meticulous to me.
Yes, it's thought out. It's considered, but even with that, you can sort of tell it's a low budget movie, even by 1962. I guess one of the most expensive things was getting the car over the bridge, and there is something really abrupt about the beginning of this movie. Like, here she is, she's in the car's in the water, and we're maybe 90 seconds into the movie.
Yeah, we don't even... That was the drag racing thing, where I was wondering if he made films about the dangers of drag racing.
Right.
Because it's just these women in a car, and these guys pull up next to them, and they're not even revving engines or anything. It's sort of understood that, this is 1962. If two cars are parallel to each other, they're drag racing.
That's what's there to do. I mean, if they were parked on a hill, they're making out, but if they're next to each other on the road, they're racing, and that's just what you did in the 60s, I guess.
It was culture, yeah.
But I think that was probably the most technically difficult for him as a sort of amateur filmmaker with a minimal budget. And so he didn't make a meal out of the first act like a lot of movies maybe would. Maybe we would have got to know her a little bit. Maybe we would have understood her foibles so that we would know the difference between her before this event and after this event, or why she's not affected enough to seek out a friend or a relative to share her thoughts and confusion with, right?
Yeah, and that's would be my bigger complaint more than, like the special effects are dated. Of course they're going to be dated. You have to judge it for its time. It does kind of go on longer than it needs to, but I think the biggest thing is actually a script issue. And if we had gotten to know our protagonist and could care about her just a little bit more, if there'd been... She doesn't really have much to her personality. She's uncomfortable around people, and she's kind of got a prickliness, which is fine, but there's just not a lot of character depth. So when we find out that she's dead or whatever, we're not particularly invested in her. Like, weirdly, the neighbor was a really gross guy, but he felt more rounded to me. He had some like weird quirks. He was very strangely proud of how much alcohol he drank, and he was like bragging about that on their date.
Well,
and like just stupid little the woman that let the boarding house where she was staying was oddly fixated on how her guests could run as many baths as they wanted, like just these little strange details that are kind of telling of the characters.
I guess that was a big deal at the time. Again, I guess it would have helped to be grown up in the 60s, but I agree.
I mean, I think it's there because water is a big motif throughout.
Right.
Yeah, certainly it would have been expensive. I mean, the fact that all the rooms had their own bathrooms, that would have been a big thing. But even so, even if this is a rare thing, for her to mention it once or twice is like just reminding you this is a luxurious place, but the amount that she did, this is just a woman that is really focused on taking baths, allowing her guests to take baths.
So, yeah, I guess portions of it are heavy-handed. I gave it a pass again. I felt like it was an earlier attempt at one of these types of movies, right? And I agree that the Hilligoss character could have been more accessible to us, either by giving us more time to know her beforehand, or just giving her more of a personality beyond reacting.
Mm-hmm.
But,
well, and this is what I mean, like, give her a quirk, give her a thing, because she's a very reactive character. And that's the kind of thing that it doesn't matter when you're writing a movie or a play. I mean, character work predates cinema.
That's right. They can't just be a blank slate to deliver the lines of the plot. We have to feel like we know them a little bit. According to IMDb, there's a 1 hour and 18-minute version or a 1 hour and 24-minute version of this movie. And in either case, I don't think you would be wasting your time. If you're dead set against watching anything from the 60s that feels a little bit arch, then I guess it's just not going to work for you, but...
Yeah, I'm sort of glad that this isn't a regular episode where I'm ranking and reviewing, because I would probably have to put this at the bottom just out of pure enjoyment, but there is something kind of special about this movie, and something undeniably special, and it's one of those things where it's worth watching.
Yeah. And I'm happy for Herc Harvey that he got this, like, late-stage recognition and that his movie has legs. Makes me, someday someone will discover Book of Trespasses, man. Is there anything else? Sorry?
Drive-in movies, and somebody will watch Book of Trespasses there.
I don't think they have those anymore. Drive-in movies.
To bring them back.
That's right. It's time. Is there anything else you want to say about Carnival of Souls?
No, I don't think there is. It's pretty good.
I think it's solid. I think it really is solid.
Yeah.
And now an undreamed of horror makes her life and love a vortex of fear.
Jack! Miles, where do they come from?
I don't know. Suddenly, while you're asleep, they'll absorb your minds, your memories.
I don't want any part of it.
You're forgetting something, Miles.
What's that?
You have no choice.
From city to city, an incredible hysterical panic spreads. As the unimaginable becomes real, the impossible becomes true.
Stop and listen! Stop and listen to me! Listen! Listen! Listen to me! They're not human! Can't you see? Everyone! They're here already! You're next!
Okay, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1956. Don Siegel is the director. Based on a novel by Jack Finney. I'm holding up the book just as proof that I have the book and I have read it. This is a movie that I got into actually quite young, because when I was in high school I discovered the 78 version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers with Donald Sutherland and Jeff Goldblum and Leonard Nimoy, and I've always thought that movie was amazing. Like the level of suspense is it, and I do still think it's my preferred best version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. But
by far and away, I would think, yeah.
Yeah, but I want to give due credit to this original film. All of the base beat points that are covered in that remake, are absolutely present here. but it is filtered through that sort of guise of the 1950s, where all of the female characters are kind of essentially useless, and there is that kind of archness to the presentation and performance that you kind of have to live in for a few minutes before you can adjust to the temperature of the water of the film. I think if you're able to do that, though, there's a lot here. Obviously, at the time, the pod people setup and everything like that was a pretty overt social thing about communism creeping its way into the United States. And while you're sleeping, the commies are going to brainwash you and change you from being a true-blooded American into a dirty commie. But you can really fill in whatever you want, you know. It can work with both sides of the political argument. It's just people can be changed, people can be manipulated, and it doesn't necessarily require pods from outer space. But yes, the basic setup of the movie is the slow reveal of this small town doctor of like, things are changing in this town. And at first it seems kind of slow, and the few people of characters are acting out of the way or complaining about their friends and neighbors acting out of the way. And this slow snowballing effect happens to, by the end of the movie, which had started pretty plain Jane and polite talking about it, it's quite manic and quite dark. And I do think the special effects, particularly him smashing the pods, were pretty hard for you know, the late 50s. So I will revise my thing. Like, I think 60s on is like the era of quote-unquote modern cinema, I guess you could argue, particularly once we get into the 70s. But there's some really good food to mine in the 50s, and one of the best examples of that, I think, is Invasion of the Body Snatchers. There's a reason that the story keeps getting told and retold and retold, because it's a good one. What did Rick Fehr think of Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
I think it's got very good bones. Very, extremely dated, obviously, from 1956. You could almost change the title to "Man Tries to Get Laid While People Are Turning into Pod People." It seemed to be his overreaching goal to tap that ass the whole movie, but which was kind of weird. But yeah, the good bones are there. You could definitely see the influences that influenced the later movie, to be sure. I wouldn't necessarily put this on my rewatch list,
right,
just because it is so dated and not particularly scary from our point of view. But the 1950s influence of McCarthyism, right, and with the FBI and all that stuff. Everyone's a common spy. You can't trust anyone. And it's one of my favorite genres is the small group of people, and you don't know who to trust. A la The Thing, be a good example. So,
or the
pardon?
I was just say sort of the global event of it, like. It's like in a way, it's sort of like a zombie movie. Like the zombies are awakening everywhere in the world, but we're following this group of people, and this is how this group of people dealt with that situation.
Correct.
It's interesting here because we get the feeling that this small town is ground zero. So instead of the pods just being everywhere right away, this is where they start their infiltration, but they're heading out with pods in the back of trucks to go to the other towns and the other cities. And it ends with this really foreboding warning. The Kevin McCarthy character, who does show up in the 70s remake at the beginning of that movie.
Oh, does he? Oh,
yeah, there's a scene where this guy is screaming in the traffic, telling them they're coming, and he gets hit by a car.
Oh, okay.
And that's in the first act of the 70s remake. Also, that actor, Kevin McCarthy, came kind of like a good luck charm for Joe Dante. He showed up in a lot of Joe Dante's movies. I have this memory of this movie Inner Space when I was a kid.
Inner Space.
Yeah.
Yes.
And his character keeps on getting shrunk to different sizes in the movie, and you can barely see over the steering wheel. Amusing actor, liked him a lot. But he is the center of this movie, and he couldn't be a more 1950s small-town doctor than he could possibly be. But watching that professional, sort of confident, masculine veneer get absolutely disintegrated over the course of the movie. Again, as backwards as it may seem now, I think was kind of progressive for the time it came out in. Also, Carolyn Jones, who played Teddy. Fun fact, she ended up playing Morticia Addams in the Addams Family TV series.
That's where I've seen her from.
Yeah. So, there's interesting anecdotal, Hollywood evidence of this. The sort of communist or the, like you say, McCarthy as an allegory, you could argue that they're maybe leaning a little too hard on that, are you guys getting it? But I do think that is sort of the product of the times they were in. Movies were still a relatively, it's like 50 or 60 years old where people were like regularly going to cinemas. It really is still the stumbling, figuring ourselves out. And
they were blunt little tools back then. Still, they felt the need to hit us over the head with it because they didn't really respect the audience intelligence because they didn't know, right?
Will they get it?
Yeah, exactly. Let's make sure they get it.
It's also still the era where, in order to make a movie like this, it has to be proven in other genres. It has to be a successful book, and in a lot of cases, a successful stage play, and then maybe they'll consider making it into a movie, right?
Yeah.
You have to earn it somehow.
Yeah, for the dollars who go to the theaters, That's usually one of my big bugaboos with this, even modern movies when they over-explain. I mean, just if we're not bright enough to get it, then it's a mystery. Let's just leave it at that and move on with our life.
If you're making a movie for stupid people, you're making a stupid movie.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's a great way to say it, yeah.
And if you're a broad comedy, go for it, by all means. But if you're a suspense thriller, maybe.
Exactly. All you got to do is look at Police Squad. It leaned right into it, and it's hilarious for it.
Yeah,
so.
Bring me the naked gun every time. Absolutely.
Oh.
I don't know. I feel like I'm already running low on things to say about it, but I do genuinely like it, and I can't overspeak how much it lit a fuse in my imagination, both from the 70s movie, and then I went to the library to borrow this one so that I could watch it. And I'll admit, when I watched it at the time, I was really quite into it. This time it was a little bit more, I was watching it for the podcast, and I could feel my analytical brain talking to me. Like, I wasn't completely lost in it. Like I was saying, when I watched Jurassic Park for the first 5 times, I wasn't thinking, man, how did they get those dinosaurs so real? Or how did they pull off that sequence? I was just in the movie. And I don't know that this movie still accomplishes that, but I do think it is a significant enough historical item that if you're into it, check it out. And there have been more adaptations of the Body Snatchers, and I'm sure there will be more adaptations of the Body Snatchers. And it says something about the pliability of the story, that you can tell it in the 50s, in the 70s, in the 90s, and in the 2000s. And it still has lots of room to work and lots of different things to say. Because there's always this perception that, the world's being brainwashed,
And there's lots of little nuggets you can take out of this one, too. Yes, it's dated. Yes, the acting is... I mean, it's not terrible acting, but it's just, like you said, for the time, it's just like, sort of thing.
It's a formality to it. And I think they were still hiring a lot of people from the stage. Mm-hmm. So actors were basically trained to perform for the back of the room, to be as big as possible so that you are seen and heard. But with this device called a movie camera, they can get right up in there, man. You don't need to do that.
Exactly, yeah.
But I say the same thing about a lot of Hitchcock movies have this problem for me, so...
Yeah, and it's actually a pretty human movie. I would point to the scene where they discover the pods that are spitting out like duplicates, right?
Yeah.
And he goes to destroy the pod people that are popping out, and he just couldn't destroy his lady friend, but he could destroy himself pretty easy.
And that costs him, as it turns out.
It did, yeah.
But and again, how quickly things go from everything's fine, everybody's being ridiculous, to smashing alien pods with a hoe.
I feel it's, I don't want to say realistic when it comes to anything, but realistic when shit goes bad, it goes bad fast.
Really fast.
Like when things start rolling downhill, it goes downhill real fast, and you don't have time to think. You just need to react, and I think that the movie does that. It's all about them reacting to what's in front of them.
Yeah, and it is left unresolved. And again, I'm not going to say I've watched every horror movie from the 50s, but usually they want a very clean, concise, happy ending, and they don't. There's a quote.
And I was afraid they were going to do that on this one, because it was my first watch of that one. So
right.
I was afraid they were going to sanitize it, and they didn't. It ended pretty abruptly, but it ended pretty ambiguously as well. So.
Yeah. Well, and they're coming. That's a weird thing about movies at this time too. They would do all the credits at the beginning, and then when the movie ends, it ends. The end. Flap. There's like no time. No time to breathe or to take in. Oh, the movie. We're done. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, don't wait for any post-credit scene, because it ain't coming.
On the back of this book, there's a reason I have it here. There's a little quote on the back. I assume it's from the author because it's not credited here. But I warn you that what you're starting to read is full of loose ends and unanswered questions. Now, if you don't like that kind of story, I'm sorry, and you'd best not read it.
Perfect. I love it.
And that's very honest and very true about the book. You know, you can judge this book by that cover, but it's true of the movies as well. And in a lot of ways, that's the strength of it. It's a launching off point. It's an idea to put these ideas in your head and then just let you sit in them. What would you do? How long would it take you to realize your friends and neighbors were pod people? Are you paying attention? Would you? Yeah. Are you paying attention to the world around you? And maybe should you pay more attention to the world around you?
Especially nowadays when everyone's got their head in a phone.
That's
Ain't
right.
nobody going to notice nothing, man. The whole world will be pod people before we realize it.
And we might be better for it at this point.
It's quite possible.
Well, and that's the sort of thing. They deal less with it in this version, but they're like emotionless versions of their former selves. They don't respond emotional level to things, and in a weird way that becomes their
right?
But it becomes both their strength and their weakness, because they don't get fazed if their buddy gets shot next to them, but they give themselves away because they don't respond to the horror of the world.
Correct.
A worthy watch. Is there anything else you'd like to say about Invasion of the Body Snatchers?
No, I think we covered it. It's a nice tight 80 minutes, like it is for the time, right? They don't stretch stuff out. It's like just the facts, man, which I appreciate sometimes. So
yeah, and even like the most recent version of it was the Invasion with Nicole Kidman and Danielle Craig. And, that's not a great movie, but it still has something. There's still that sort of paranoia aspect to it. There was one in '93, I think, done by Abel Ferreira, called Body Snatchers. And,
I don't think I saw that one.
Yeah. Again, not as good as the 70s one, but kind of interesting, and it's very sort of 90s. It's much more militaristic. It's set on a military base, and everybody's already part of the hive mind of the military, so you don't immediately notice the difference.
Right.
Well, thanks so much, and we'll be adjourning the film club again next time to talk about some horror sequels.
Yeah, sounds great. Which one was I doing again?
I want to say Wolf Creek 2.
That's it. Yeah, Wolf Creek 2. Yeah.
Looking forward
to it.
I'm
excited for that. I'm excited for that one. I enjoyed the first one. So.
Well, if enjoy is the right word.
I mean, for what it is, of course.
To be continued.
Yeah.
Wild, weird, wonderful. The stuff for which movies were made. Adventure, to make you wonder if it's true, while your eyes convince you that it is. Truly, the thrill of thrills. Don't miss it this time.
So the director of 1933's King Kong is Marion C. Cooper. He had an assist with this guy, Ernest B. Schoedzek. I hope I'm saying that right. I believe he helped with the stop motion kind of stuff. But Cooper kind of was the mastermind and director of the film. And he really wanted to give the audience like a spectacle not like they've ever seen before, but also a story that no one had even conceived before, just like an absolute feast of the imagination. And somehow he landed upon this idea of a giant ape on top of the Empire State Building being shot at by biplanes, which, to say the least, was incredibly ambitious for the time. And he kind of worked backwards into finding the story so that he could get this. Also,
so he started with the Empire State scene.
That was sort of the image that started things, right?
And then interesting.
How did this happen? How did we get here? It was also right at the start of the Great Depression. And, the world needed a distraction and some entertainment. And here we go. The plot byline on IMDb here. A film crew goes to a tropical island for a location shoot where they capture a colossal ape who takes a shine to their blonde starlet, and they bring him back to New York City.
I mean, that's pretty accurate. I think that's a pretty good summary in one sentence.
Yeah. I have loved this movie since I was a child. I don't know how. My dad had a VHS copy or recorded from somewhere, and I would watch it again and again and again. Like on Sunday mornings, they didn't have Saturday morning cartoons, so I would watch Star Wars or King Kong or something like this. Right. So I'm going to start the review by saying, I'm biased towards this movie. I've loved it since I was a child, and I have no intention of stopping loving it. But it does have all of the things that a lot of movies made considerably long time ago have to deal with. The editing is pretty basic and roughshod. The performances have that sort of arch, exaggerated, stagey quality where they're talking to the back of the room, making sure that everybody can hear them, even though there's a camera that's capturing the audio,
And it's like the radio boys, where everybody talks like this, so it's like it's on the radio or something.
That's right. Yeah. Boys, we'll be millionaires, and I'll share it all with you. I swear to God. And there is that kind of artifice, I guess you'll call it, to get over. But I think it's worth getting over it. It's worth getting over the less than enlightened portrayal of the tribal people in this movie, because they're just not very, very, very accurately or in any way nicely portrayed. But the movie's not about them. It's about their worshipping and fear of Kong, and they wanting to sacrifice someone to Kong.
And also, the conquering, right? Like the conquering of something. I just felt like that kept coming up throughout the whole movie.
Yeah. These guys in their boat, they're just going to show up, they're going to wreck the place, they're going to take what they want, they're going to do what they want. And it's never even seriously questioned by the movie.
But even the movie director, I'll find a girl, don't you worry about it, I'll get her. He was insufferable. I'm sorry.
And a lot of times...
I like the movie a lot, but I did not like Denham.
Right.
Denham.
And Fehr. And it's reflective of the time. Really, Fehr has given a lot more screen time and character than most women were given in movies, if I'm fair. And she's famous for her scream, and she has a very, very good scream in this movie.
Yeah, it was great. I all of the other characters I could get behind, enjoy, but I think that's the one I kept bumping up against that I couldn't. I kept saying I was putting on two hats while I was watching it. It was I was watching my I just love movies and this is a classic and I need to appreciate it. And then also it's problematic and I can see why it is problematic. And I could get around it except with the movie director. He was the one that I just couldn't get past.
All of this tragedy, and the movie is a tragedy, is his fault. And I feel like the ending would sit better if at least Denham was also squished, if he landed on him or something, if there was some sort of payday for him. Even in the Peter Jackson version of this, where they have Jack Black playing the character, he remains unlikable. I feel like I want him to be squished in the third act of that movie. And
or something, and he even gets the last line, which is the classic line from the movie that everyone quotes, right? He gets that line.
That's right.
Or the soldier husband guy that she gets, or
No. It's also made before we knew a lot about dinosaurs. So you have, like, obviously plant-eating dinosaurs eating these guys, and...
I liked the sort of Loch Ness imagery. The one scene, was really, really cool. Like, I wasn't quite ready for, like, it's one of those movies that even though I hadn't seen it, I've seen it in clips so many times that, like, it feels like I've seen the movie.
Even if you haven't seen it, there's an idea of King Kong, and it's not far from the truth.
Like that Loch Ness scene, or the whatever dinosaur scene in the river, like that scene I hadn't actually seen clipped before, so that was like new to me, and I was very excited about it.
Yeah, the movie is quite bloodthirsty. Like, there's a lot of guys on that boat, and most of them do not make it home.
Yeah, there's also a lot of like monster on monster action in the movie that I was not like. There was more monsters than I expected to be.
Yeah. And of course, the Tyrannosaurus Rex and the great ape having a fight was the kind of big moment of the movie, even more than the planes attacking the Empire State Building. I think that was the scene that really blew the minds of the audience and had them coming back again and again for more.
The T-Rex scene?
Where he fights the T-Rex and breaks its jaw, and it's just this epic battle that happens. And I don't know. Yes, it helps to sort of, like you had said earlier, imagine yourself in 1933 seeing this on the big screen and being like completely blown away by it. But I even think in 2026, by the time this episode drops, it's absolutely worth watching.
Oh, for sure. Like, I'm so glad now that I've seen it, and I like, that I had the opportunity to actually see it, because I'm such a monster movie fan, and like I've said this already in this episode probably, but like it's weird that I haven't watched this movie. Like, why have I not seen it? Like, that's strange to me. So, but I really, like, I enjoyed it while I was watching it. I wasn't bored. I wasn't like rolling my eyes at I was like, no, this is a great movie. Like, it was great.
What did you think about the relationship between Andero and the Beast?
I did think that there's, again, my two hats. Like, I could put on my, like, women's lit feminist, like, studies hat. And
I can take it.
I thought she was a really great character. Like, I don't know. I think that her relationship with the Beast is like just a part of that sort of like Western beauty ideal, all of those things. And like, yeah, he's gonna pick the pretty little blonde thing. Like, that's what Hollywood, that's like what they want. So, I mean, he could have had any of the other women from the tribe that had been living there for how many years, but this was the one that he loved, and he loved her. He wanted to keep her safe.
It is weird, and I don't know why I've always been uncomfortable with it, like since I was a kid. In this version and the 70s version with the dude in it.
Like the one who becomes the romantic love interest?
No, Jeff Bridges is the lead character in the 70s remake of King Kong.
Oh, I see.
But in that movie, it is very clearly the ape is like sexually attracted to her, and it's weird. And in this movie, there's that scene where he's pulling the clothes off of her, and he sets her down on the ground, and it's kind of weird and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It wasn't until Peter Jackson did his version of King Kong where I felt a connection, like between a woman and this animal, but it's much more like you tame a wild animal that's familiar, that comes around the yard enough times that you get comfortable with each other and a relationship develops. But I didn't feel like Kong wanted to mate with her or something like this.
In the Peter Jackson one?
In the Peter Jackson one, I feel like they develop a relationship, a friendship.
Almost like a Tarzan and Jane sort of thing.
I think he's lonely. I think he's a lonely monkey. Like, he's the only monkey on this island full of dinosaurs, and he's never seen anyone like Andero before. She's a different color, and she's got this blonde hair, and I don't know, she relates to him on some basic level. But even as a kid, I found it like, this is weird. This is like bestiality or something. This is just like not cool.
The part that was the part that like stuck out that was like the weirdest to me is like, so after he's in New York and he's like escaped, and then she's like in the hotel room and he like finds her. Like that was never like, he's just all of a sudden like, did he, he just found her in this hotel room. Like, I don't know. Like,
or like he's looking for a blonde woman, which on his island was rare, but in New York City, they're all over the place. So every now and then he'll pick up the wrong girl. Oh, that's not her, and just toss her.
Great scene when that woman got tossed out the window, like, or dropped out of the window. Like, that was a great scene, and like effects wise too and stuff. Like I like how they did it, and I liked the way it looked, and I liked her scream. Like everything about that was like pretty. It was funny, but it was also like
pretty hard. And like at this point in the movie, we kind of like Kong, so it's interesting that we see him commit these acts of violence and murder, but he's motivated. He doesn't understand this world at all. He doesn't understand where he is. He's far from his home and his comfort. He doesn't, know that his doom is flying towards him. And I don't know. I think it's interesting, especially in a movie this old, that they have that level of complexity to a non-human character.
Are you back on?
So I'm back on. I was just saying, I think that it's interesting that they allowed that much complexity in a creature, not a human being, that, like, he had good aspects and bad aspects to his personality, and he did, obsess or love over Fehr, but it was almost a comfort thing, like a kid wanting his Banky or something like this.
And he wasn't one-dimensional. Like, he had a personality.
And you felt it when he was being shot and about to fall off the Empire State Building. You didn't want it to happen. You want to hear a funny story about my boys?
Yeah, I do.
When they were younger, I was trying to talk them into watching the Peter Jackson King Kong. They were big fans of Jack Black from like School of Rock and other things. So it's like, it's a big, long movie, and it does have some really scary stuff in it, but it also has Jack Black, and it's super cool, and I think you guys will get into it. And
How old would they have been?
I'm going to say like 8 and 10 or something like this. And then Owen said, I'll watch it as long as the monkey doesn't die.
Oh, sorry, bad.
So they still haven't seen that particular version. But I wonder what it is built in us that we just so inherently love King Kong and don't want to see this ending.
Well, and I think it's just like, it always goes back to like, I can watch 1,000 humans die and be like, well, that's cool, he dropped her out the window.
Yeah.
But like, one animal gets any harm, and I'm like, wait, bitch, stop.
Yeah.
Back up.
They did what to John Wick's dog?
Like, Kong didn't want any of that. He just wanted to stay on his island and like live his happy life, and like we did that to him, and then we killed him because we did it to him. Like, humans suck, basically. And
that is baked into the movie. I really do feel that way.
Yeah, and like, I don't know. I like all the commentary of like the people in the movie theater when they're like coming to see it, and like they don't know what they're coming. Like, again, I kept thinking about like in context of like where we were as like like USA and Canada and the nation at that time, like coming out of World War I, like the 20s, and then like hitting into the Depression, knowing that there's this sort of thing lurking in Germany happening about to, and like, so again, I kept thinking about like the need of them to feel like strong, and like they can take anything, and we can take anything, and we're so strong, we can kill this beast, and we can take this island, and we can get the girl. It was just this like sense of like, we need to be the best and do this, because that's just like the military, or the like mindset that we need in like the people right now or something. I don't know. Yeah. I was trying to think about that too.
I have talked a lot recently on the podcast about how certain movies, I have a hard time quieting the background noise in my mind and thinking, oh, that's so-and-so from that other movie, or I wonder how they achieved that special effect. And part of the magic of King Kong, because I saw it so young, is that I didn't think about any of that at all for the longest time.
Yeah.
And now when I'm old and I do sort of look at it and think of it, I think you can actually see the sculptor's hands on the maquette, the puppets that they're moving, like the fur is being disturbed by them manipulating the puppet, and that's sort of like seeing the artist's fingerprints on Wallace and Gromit in the clay. Yeah. It's like you can feel the tactile handmade part of the movie, but to a way that it actually accentuates things to me. I know I'm looking at stop motion, but I think I'm looking at pretty damn great stop motion, especially considering it's 1933.
Yeah, and the first, like, they didn't have a model to follow. Like, they were making the models. Like, they were making it as they went. You know what I mean? And they didn't have, like, oh, well, in this they did it this way, so we can replicate that. Like, no, they were making it up as they went, and it was great.
And there was nobody in the room saying, you know, this is a little bit too ludicrous. I don't know if the people are going to go for this, or, like, maybe we just need a few of these epic action sequences instead of the movie being one after the other after the other. Like, but I really appreciate the effort to make an absolute entertainment spectacular that no one has ever seen before. That kind of ambition is so rarely seen in Hollywood.
I also really like that they must have really thought that the guy or human in like Kong's mouth was such a great shot, because we saw it like so many times. Yeah. Like, it was a great shot, but like, we needed to see it. I think it was like 3 or 4 times, but it was good. But I think they must have been like, yeah, that looks really great. We got to do that again. Let's show a close-up of him in the mouth. Yeah.
I like seeing people get eaten by dinosaurs and monkeys and being stepped on and smushed. I've never outgrown that. And it's never not sad to me when the Kong goes off of the building. I'm just like, that sucks, dude.
Yeah, part of me just wanted him to, like, fall or, like, climb down and, like, run away. And just, like, find his freedom or, like, go to the dinosaur Jurassic Park island or, you know, whatever. Yeah. Like,
well, like, and I guess the culture got their way on that because Kong has been resurrected. I mean, beyond this story being canon, there's, you know, King Kong versus Godzilla and Kong Skull Island, and there's been other permutations of King Kong, and it's weird.
Looking up, like, monster movies to kind of see where this fell in, like, the grand scheme of monster movies, and that's kind of when I was like, kind of is one of the first. But there was just this, like, list of movies, and, like, so many of them were, like, Kong. Like, in the K section, like, Kong this, King Kong this, like, Kong versus, like, yeah. There's a lot of monster movies with Kong.
Yeah. Because we willed him back to life, damn it. We willed him back to life.
Did they just find other monsters? How did they, is it just, have you seen, like, how did they get around canon
They just did it. Like, originally with Godzilla versus King Kong, the idea was Godzilla versus Frankenstein. Dr. Frankenstein would be hired to build a creature to fight Godzilla, but then they thought, wait, we have this King Kong story. But even then, in Godzilla is the size of a building, and in King Kong climbs the building. So all of a sudden, King Kong is way bigger than he'd been in the original movies, and he can go toe-to-toe with Godzilla. But I am here for it.
Yeah, I should watch that one now. It'd be good.
There's a lot of things you should watch. Is there anything else you want to say about King Kong before we wrap up this particular review?
No, watch it. It's great. I enjoyed it. It's a fun romp, and it's fast moving. It moved like it didn't drag. That was one thing I really appreciated about it.
It was not a chore. It's not homework at all.
Yeah, it wasn't a slog like some other movies that I have seen for this.
I'm going to take that right on the chin.
Oh, sir, she's gone. The monster, he's got her.
sequels are a tough thing generally, and a pretty new thing at this point. James Whale is a celebrated director. He knows what he's doing. But it's interesting to me how much respect, and I guess we have to put a little bit of air quotes around Mary Shelley, that this movie has, because almost none of what we see in this movie is taken from her book. But unlike the first movie, where she wasn't even really credited, she was credited as like Mrs. Percy Shelley or something like that, or like by her husband's name. It was very dismissive. In this movie, we open with Mary Shelley having a conversation with her husband and a friend, and she's going to tell everybody the story wasn't finished with Frankenstein. She's got more to tell. She's got more to tell. And again, it seems kind of weird and like a strange construct, but this was actually a sign of respect at the time. This was steps. They're taking the ravings of this young woman quasi-seriously. I do find it interesting that we never come back to it. She starts telling the story, and I was waiting at the end of the movie.
There's the bookend.
Yeah, and it just doesn't happen. We just never come back to it. But, I mean, it was the classic Hollywood thing. They were faced with an incredibly successful production. They want to make a sequel to it, but the ending was kind of prohibiting that. So some changes were made, and some changes had already been made. But it was comforting seeing these things, because I'm actually like way more familiar with young Frankenstein than I am with any of the classic Frankenstein movies. Like, all right, this is where we get the blind man sequence. It wasn't in the original Frankenstein. We find out here. And they softened the monster, as in he doesn't have the same brutal familial kill count that he does from the novel here. And that gives, the wife a little bit more to do in this sequel. And the special effects, to be fair, for the time, not just the makeup effects, but the doctor with all the little mini people in the jars, in 1935 was like, holy shit, how are they doing that? Like, I do think it brought genuine spectacle. Watching it now, I do feel like I have a hard time getting lost in it. I don't find it immersive, and I'm charmed by it. I don't think it's bad, but like there is that voice in the back of my brain taking me out of it, and this is how they're shooting that, and this is why they made this choice. But on looking at it as a sort of we're crowbarring a sequel in, make it work. I think they kind of did the job. They didn't overly repeat themselves from the first movie. They had to come up with another mad doctor. But for an hour and 15 minutes as a little bit of like a history lesson, it's one of the better of the, quote, classic creature run. So I'm not excited by it, but I can't bring myself to give it a thumbs down review. It's formative, it's important to the genre, it's worth a look. Maybe not an own, but a look for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, there's some cultural currency in this particular film that James Whale's very famous, and then if you watch the 90s movie Gods and Monsters, and
he says
some
the
of
line
that,
in this movie. He says the line.
To a new world of gods and monsters, which is a very famous line. So, like that again, the image of the Bride of Frankenstein late in the film, and is a great reveal, is an iconic shot. Like they when they do a montage of older films, they will bring that up, and that look. I really kind of, because I hadn't watched a lot of the Universal monster movies, and then I got this massive collection, and I just have watched, not all of them, but I've watched several of them. The Frankenstein, movies I've really enjoyed. I absolutely know as far as the novel, but the Hollywood, how Hollywood just treated it, and then the ripple effects of that sometimes have not been great. It was funny. I happened to watch Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, and the next day I was watching Bride of Frankenstein, and somebody said, "Oh, are you just trying to get a little bit more comparing it or whatever?" I said, "No, I'm actually reviewing this for Larry's show, Bride of Frankenstein."
Larry made me do it.
But no, it's funny because I watched it before, and I think my memories of it the first time were more positive than this time. And again, I was watching it just for enjoyment. I wasn't, writing notes or putting my brain to that. I'm going to have to review it. So maybe that was part of it. So you've already mentioned some of the things that to me are a little bit of a distraction, but probably would have been like, wow, this is genius back then.
Right.
The meta business of having, Mary Shelley in that scene. But it should have been followed up. It's just something that sits there and just feels... But I guess you're right, making up for the fact that the credit was just so bad.
So dismissive.
The first, which is, that first Frankenstein movie, I think, is very well done as well. And that sequence with the little people in the jars too. It was amazing then. It doesn't look that great now. I don't think.
It kind of keeps going too. It's a little bit of a Saturday Night Live sketch.
Yeah, it feels like
you're doing, but this is.
But we're too ironic. We're too, the time that we're in now. But I think overall it is a really kind of entertaining little film. And if you're interested in like the Hollywood version of Frankenstein and you want to kind of see a little bit more, I think there's some nice touches in there. Given what they were doing at the time, the set direction, the art direction, especially the lab and all that, very elaborate.
These vast rooms.
And I can see where Del Toro, with his design for the current film, was inspired by the Universal Monster movies. I think is also inspired by the novel. And seen it, so there's the fact that something I watched the very modern set the day before, and then I saw this one that was very, very basic, but it really wasn't. They did a lot with what they could do at that time with that setup, and I think just the whole creation of the bride was great. And then spoilers for it, but it's 100. I don't know. It's not. It's less than 100 years old, but it's been around for a while.
Long in the tooth.
But I love the fact that a couple things, when the monster sees his face in the mirror, he's horrified by how he looks. That's a very nice touch. And then the other piece was when the bride is revealed, and you think, oh, this is a companion, so that the monster is no longer lonely. The bride does not like the monster,
no.
and so then all hell breaks loose, and that's like a great kind of ironic touch there.
Yeah.
The Bride of Frankenstein makes no sense because this isn't really, unless
the Bride of the Monster. I guess.
We do have kind of the in this case it's Henry Frankenstein. Again, I find that kind of weird and annoying that it's
Random.
Henry, but has gotten married, and so then his bride is kind of part of the subplot. But yeah.
She
Anyway,
basically nags from the wings is what's going on. Do this for me.
Yeah.
The Dr. Frankenstein himself seems like a pretty weak character. He's being handled by his wife, or he's being handled by the mad scientist, or he's being handled by his own creations.
Dr. Pretorius.
Pretorius, yes, of course. And yeah, the whole thing with not only the bride rejecting the creature, but being more interested in her creator and Dr. Frankenstein. It couldn't be a more catastrophic result for him.
Yeah.
But the stakes are not quite there where I want them to be. But I could see, a Guillermo del Toro remake that would make that really exciting and interesting.
Well, there is a remake coming, I think.
With Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, she's directed, or probably written and directed, and she's turning into a really good filmmaker. So, and the actors involved with that one are good. And I think it's no coincidence that it's coming out, a few months after Del Toro's, but...
I've said on the podcast before, I've written essays and fought with my professors over the sort of sympathetic portrayal of the monster. Not that I don't have sympathy for what he goes through, but the decisions made by the creature kind of scratches him off the redemptive arc for me. Mm-hmm. He kills some kids, and he kills, Frankenstein's wife, and some bad shit happened to him, but that just ain't okay.
What's interesting is I think in the first Universal monster film, the monster is a monster, and we are afraid. This one lightens it up. Boris Karloff, we haven't mentioned it, is fantastic in this role, of course, but the monster ends up saving Henry Frankenstein and his wife in this, and suddenly okay, this is the move towards us liking the monster more, which I think is a mistake, but something that, not to review Del Toro's, and I know you probably haven't seen it yet, but the stuff about killing kids is not in Del Toro's film, and I think it's a mistake, personally.
He softens it. He softened it.
Because he really wants to pull on the monster, because he always is defending the monsters in his films. Yeah. That's a different movie. This one.
Even if, like, comparing it to, like, the, classic creatures, I think it's better than the original Dracula in a lot of ways.
That was very static.
Really just sort of sits there like a filmed play.
Yeah.
This one, there's some really considered shots. There's some fun acting. It goes down easy.
Yeah, there's some effects for the time that I think were good. Some look bad now, some look fine, and it's you know what it is. And if you're going to criticize it for how it looks when it's nearly 100 years old, then you're not. It's the same thing as like criticizing ideas that were around 100 years ago and wanting to cancel those. I don't think it's
not a lot of things that were made in 1935 are still as durable as this.
I mentioned I like history, and when we were doing the interview part, and I think that's a really important idea. I love the history of film, and I love how going back and watching movies like this, and it helps me understand where we've gone to, and kind of in between, and so many references. Young Frankenstein, as you mentioned, and cartoons, and like growing up, just seeing the child's version of the Frankenstein monster, and growing up wrongly thinking that the monster is named Frankenstein, and so I get
confusing,
worried. Especially when the title is Bride of Frankenstein.
I don't think I have anything more to say about Bride of Frankenstein. I mean, I'm not like falling over my chair to heap praise upon it, but I do think it's a worthy watch, if maybe just a one-time.
Yeah, I think it's a really good. It's one of those really solid Universal monster films that's not going to. There's some bad ones in the mix there. It's like the Marvel movies, some really bad ones, and there's some really good ones. I think this is a really good one.
Don't try to escape. You can't.
No.
Are you ready, dear?
Yes. Damn you.
The ghosts are waiting, so won't you join me in the house on Haunted Hill? Hurry, or you'll be late for your own funeral.
All right, The House on Haunted Hill, 1959, and this is William Castle. He was really famous for adding extra layers to his spectacle. Like in The Tingler, he would have like some of the seats in the theater rigged to shock. And actually, people would get a little jolt when the Tingler showed up. I guess in this one, a skeleton on a rope was in some theaters rigged to swing across the top of the audience as they were watching the movie. He really was a showman in a traditional, almost theatrical sense, like a live theater sense, but trying to bring some of that energy to movies. And that's charming. They made a whole movie kind of inspired by this called Matinee that John Goodman did. So he is kind of the guy of cheap horror movies. He's like Roger Corman before Roger Corman. And this is, like, again, probably one of a dozen movies he produced or directed this year. And they're all super cheap black and white ones. And Vincent Price is a big celebrity and has a lot of cachet with the horror genre crowd. So get him and do the rest as dirt cheap as possible. For some reason, The House on Haunted Hill hit a nerve culturally. There's a couple of, quote, famous jump scares in this movie that, like, blew the socks off of people when they saw it in 1959. Do I think most people that are watching it in 2026 are going to be rattled by The House on Haunted Hill? No. But I do think it is pretty aggressively entertaining for a movie that is as old as it is. One of the first things they do is like this really base, clumsy setup. There was no clever way to do the exposition. It's just hard narration. Here are who the characters are. This is the house they're going to. This is why. All narrated by Vincent Price. And the movie that popped into my head, actually, that you'll appreciate this, was Freddy vs. Jason. At the beginning of Freddy vs. Jason, we have like a first-person perspective documentary interview with Freddy Krueger as he tells us his plan to unleash Jason Voorhees on the children of Springwood. And I'm just sort of howling goofily at the movie. And I do think it's in its sort of same spirit in that House on Haunted Hill knows that it's kind of a goofy, weird haunted house movie, and they just want you to have fun and throw a few scares down you and get it done quickly and efficiently. And you know what? I think that they mostly did. Are you going to be hyper aware that you're watching a movie that's well over 50 years old? Yes, of course. But I think if you're an aficionado of the genre, like, give it a look. Kind of interestingly, it's similar to its remake in that the remake isn't amazing, but I think it's totally worth watching too. So I have a lot of fun with The House on Haunted Hill, and I think that was its intention. And it's kind of sweet that a movie that just wants to keep you happy has had such a legacy. So yeah, I would say watch The House on Haunted Hill, kids. But I'm happy to hear a second opinion.
All right, end of review.
Okay.
Next. Yeah, the same. It's a painless movie to watch. It just kind of happens, and as you mentioned, it's really short too, so it doesn't drag out. I don't know if we could make it any longer either. They start off even before the talking heads scene where they explain who everybody is and what they're doing. The movie opens up on a black screen, and you hear screams and moan and chains, and then sounds of like ghouls, and remember those old spooky haunted house sound effect
records? Sure.
Records
Yeah.
Right, I used to get one from the library, and I just like listen to those haunted house sound effects, like it was music or something. That's what it reminded me of, and it just kind of puts you in that I don't know that time, but it's kind of strange, and then it just starts, and it's kind of fun to watch, and yeah, it's silly, and every year that goes by, it's going to feel a lot older and cheesier. I'm not sure how scared people are of skeletons anymore.
I used to make fun of my kids because they would watch video reactions of people playing video games. They would just watch someone else play this video game, and I'd be like, boys, what are you doing? Just play a video game. This is so strange to me. Well, I'm a hypocrite because I have started watching a few of these reaction channels, which piss me off because they're kids that are like in their early 20s who make money on the internet watching the horror movies that you and I grow up with. But I always tell myself no one would really still be scared of a movie like this.
Right.
Some people still find this kind of movie scary. Like, I didn't find it scary. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I sort of smiled at it. But the movie kind of splits its focus between is the house haunted and this husband and wife who are clearly trying to kill each other.
Well, it's kind of hilarious too. I mean, even when it gets spooky, but like Vincent Price and his wife, their banter towards each other is very funny. It's like they're the Ropers or something, but a bit more of a violent edge.
They have this like silent agreement that they're trying to kill each other, but neither will admit it. It's so adorable.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a good time just kind of watching their interactions and just the snarkiness of it. And
I would say in another movie too, I might be bothered because there are characters that seem to matter to the plot, and then there's other characters who they introduce and basically disappear from the movie.
Yeah.
But I don't know, again, that added to the charm here, whereas in another movie I'd be like, why all this setup when we're just going to focus on these four characters?
Kind of like the older lady who's one of the guests, and her only interest is for someone to mix her a drink.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it.
And
she's there for.
We're done. And being charmed, and again, I don't want to laugh at the movie, but I guess at times I did. Like the famous scare with the old woman, and she's in like this frozen, clawed out pose, and she's got a frozen, screaming face, and like nobody would just be standing there completely still like that. But it is hilarious. And that was a big jump scare, apparently, once upon a time.
Yeah, it looks cool as a jump scare if it like paid off into, but then she like gets wheeled away. She's clearly on a cart or something. and she appears again, just kind of wheeled in and then wheeled out. And then they say, oh no, that's just the caretaker's wife and she's blind. So sometimes I guess blind women do that.
Yeah, they just pose. They make a ghost faux pose and they just stand there.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
The elaborate, like, it's really convenient. There's a little acid vat at the basement of this house for some reason, to really good for disposing of bodies.
I think that's more common than you think. I know I have an acid vat in my wine cellar as well.
Right.
I think most people have one. So
nobody just uses a hobo graveyard anymore. It's sad.
Yeah. Well, the vat of acid. That's kind of a. I don't know. I don't know if this would be a code anymore, but I mean, what else do we have? I mean, what was the other jump scare? Is it the severed head she finds in the box in the suitcase? Right. That looked pretty good as far as it was even kind of gory looking for an old black and white movie. But again, at the end, as you kind of wondered, is the house even haunted? Is anything really even going on? But there was a severed head there. That did belong to somebody.
There was a weird monster hand kind of fingering over the side of the wall at some point. I don't know how that factored into any plan.
Yeah, it almost looked like a gorilla glove or something. Who knows what? All these just things are happening, and and I guess the other one is the skeleton at the end, which I guess we're led to believe when it comes up that's Vincent Price's character's skeleton rising.
That's the switcheroo he wants for them to believe. That's right.
Even though we're looking at that skeleton, it's a good 2 feet shorter than Vincent Price was. And, it's moving like an adorable 1950s skeleton. It's clearly attached.
Yeah, all of the bones remain attached. It's very convenient that way, yeah.
Yeah, and then at the end, he comes around the corner with that elaborate police system attached to him, and he's got cranks and police, and he's been controlling this skeleton the whole time. Are you fucking kidding me?
Ignore the little man behind the curtain.
Nobody noticed all the strings. Everyone just thought, oh, this must be a real skeleton. It's not a puppet show.
I mean, I've talked about
for a second.
I've talked about horror movies that don't really make sense when you think about them afterwards. This is guilty of that. Or horror movies where, yeah, that resolved nicely, but our main character's clearly going to go to jail now, right? I sort of felt that way about The House of Haunted Hill, thinking back on it after I was watching it. I was like, so he invited all these people to his house and offered to pay them money if they are brave enough to stay in the house, just so that he could frame his wife for his own murder. There seemed like there would be literally millions of clearer and better options about going about killing or framing your wife than this. But this was clearly one of the more entertaining ways that you could go about it.
Yeah, and I think what you're doing there is I wrote down my kind of summary of the end of the movie. It's a fun movie, even though it doesn't really make a lick of sense.
That's right.
That's kind of where I landed on it. But the twist, when we find out, because it looks like his wife hangs herself or somebody murders her and hangs her. And I guess if you want to call it a twist, is when we find out that she's like, get me out of my hanging harness. I guess that's a thing. And so all along they were trying to twist people, and I'm not really dead. Now we're going to get him. And they're trying to scare everybody. It's just all so convenient. But, and they say, well, when you appeared at Nora's window, that's when she really started to buy into it, and which also is a thing that doesn't make sense. They tried to scare the girl by the dead woman floating outside her window, and that rope comes in and goes around her. But if this was not a real ghost, there's no way that this could happen. Well, nothing makes sense.
No.
It's just let it happen and pretend it's 1959.
Like a lot of low-budget, B-grade, self-consciously silly horror movies, if you fight it, you'll win. So don't fight it. Just have fun, damn it.
And I will share my favorite line of the movie is, I'll give some credit, actually. What's the actress's, Carolyn Craig that plays Nora. She is a hell of a screamer.
Yep.
That's mostly what she does in the movie, screams. But that scream she has is terrific. A couple of, I think, Annabelle, Vincent Price's wife, she's a good screamer as well. But anyway, at one point, Nora is losing control. She's screaming in her room and freaking out. And the doctor, one of the guests there is a doctor, and he's saying, "Would you like a sedative?" And she just lets loose on him. Get out, all of you, get out. And she slams the door. And the way he looks at her, it's like he said, "Bitch."
Oh. Wow.
It's kind of just a funny moment when you watch it. If you get a chance, I think there's a movie, I'm not sure if you watch the movies with that riff track commentary on it. This is a fun movie to watch with the riff tracks commentary.
Okay.
Because it's so ripe for riffing and ribbing and having fun. But
it's almost making fun of itself, really. Like, it is pretty aware.
Yeah, and he's just kind of pointing out all these things that are, hey, yeah, that is kind of hilarious. But I've watched this movie now more than a few times, so I do keep kind of going back to it, and I keep having fun. You know, if you got 75 minutes to kill, you're not going to be up at night with nightmares or anything. So no worry about that. So.
Yes, well, all this study of classic horror cinema is all well and good, but how are you supposed to rank them? Like, what sense do we make of these things that are generation before us? Well, in sixth place, I am going to put The Day the Earth Stood Still. I think that it is aged the most strangely of the bunch of movies that we've been talking about, and to be fair or unfair, it is probably the least horror. It's got tension, it's got stakes to it, but I think anything that could be called horror has aged out of the movie. So I'm putting it in sixth place. I did enjoy all of these movies though, so don't be mad at me. Speaking of a movie I enjoyed that's ranking low, The House on Haunted Hill I'm putting in fifth place. It's kind of a surprise to everybody, including the filmmakers itself, the legs that this movie has. It just sort of hits this right, sort of strange, funny, almost campy vibe and sustains it for 75 minutes in a way that's pleasing. But it's a little unambitious and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that doesn't stop it from being quite fun. In fourth place, and this is going to have some people tearing their hair out, but I'm going to put Bride of Frankenstein, which has been considered one of the greatest sequels ever made. And it certainly was ambitious. They were certainly taking big swings. It was, well mounted. They had to invent a lot, and there was almost a bit of not just picking up from the previous movie, but a little bit of apologies for it, or redefining it in order to, turn it into this franchise. The special effects for the time it came out are really worth checking out, but again, this one it was a slightly less easy watch than some of the other ones. So yes, in fourth place, Bride of Frankenstein. In third place, Carnival of Souls, which even that seems low to me because I have a lot of affection for Carnival of Souls and the whole strange story of how it was made and how it was this one movie, feature film this guy made, and it somehow caught hold in the culture and is even more significant today than it was when it came out. It's got this strangeness to it, but I really do enjoy it. In second place, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Sort of the movie that taught me what paranoid thrillers were, where it didn't have to be, shootouts or tension or playing an elaborate hide-and-seek sort of game. It's this feeling like everything's falling apart and that there's nothing that can be done about it. It's well done. It's even better done in the 70s remake, but definitely watch both of them. In first place, going back to my youth, my childhood, my love of horror, my love of monsters, my love of ambitious cinema, I have to give it to King Kong. It is just a spectacular piece of entertainment, and it's still very, very watchable today. You are aware that you're watching an old movie, but you get lost in it. You get lost in the spectacle. King Kong accomplishes what most summer blockbusters these days seems to fail, and it did it a long time ago before computer effects. So I'm giving King Kong first place, but this was not an easy rank. I think that all of these movies are worth your time, so, check them out. I want to send big thanks and big love to all the members of the Film Club for their great work and their participation, and we are going to be moving on in the next episode to discuss slasher sequels. That way I can hit 2 subgenres at once. I hope you're still listening when that happens, but until then you can send your feedback to ranknreview@gmail.com. That's ranknreview@gmail.com. Please check out Jason Dubray's podcast, the Shelf Shedding Movie Show. He really knows what he's doing, and he deserves your ears. So give that a chance. And every other Wednesday, there's going to be another episode of Rank and Review, and the Film Club shall continue. So thank you for your ears. Tell your friend about Rank and Review, and your host and random Canadian appreciates you. We'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.